It's no secret that the prices of our favorite classics have been steadily rising over the past years. Cars that could be found in newspaper classifieds for a few grand are now priced out of the market for many average Americans. But hope is not lost, because there are still a select handful of truly wonderful classics out there that you can buy today without selling a kidney. But it may not be that way for long. In fact, there are 7 in particular. Now, the vehicles on this list are built on the following criteria. The cars had to be from 1987 or earlier. They have to be a performance-oriented vehicle, whether they be a sports car or a muscle car. They have to be a vehicle that will most likely hold its value or appreciate, and they have to regularly be available around the $15,000 US range in solid running order. So with that being said, let's dive into the list. Number 7. The TVR Tasmin 280i. It's angular and unapologetically British. The TVR Tasmin 280i is not the obvious choice, but that's exactly why it's worth your attention. Born out of Blackpool during a turbulent era for British car manufacturing, the Tasmin was TVR's attempt to go upmarket. Styled by Oliver Winterbottom, who also penned the Lotus Elite, the car carried a futuristic wedge shape that made it look far more exotic than its current price tag suggests. But under that fiberglass body lies a surprisingly conventional and accessible powertrain package. Under the hood, you'll find a 2.8-liter Cologne V6, the same engine found in various Ford Capris and even the Merkur XR4 Ti in the States. It makes about 150 horsepower and 160 foot-pounds of torque, paired typically with a 5-speed manual transmission sourced from Ford. Curb weight is right around 2,600 pounds, which gives the Tasmin a respectable power-to-weight ratio for the time. Now, this isn't a car that wins on raw performance. 0 to 60 is about 8 seconds. But that's not the point of the Tasmin. This car offers an involving and analog driving experience thanks to the double wishbone suspension at all 4 corners, and a chassis that is surprisingly well sorted, thanks in part to TVR's lightweight philosophy. When it comes to reliability, well, it's a TVR, and that means quirky in every sense of the word. Electrical gremlins and parts compatibility can be a big hurdle, but the drivetrain itself, at least, is relatively dependable thanks to the Ford parts. In terms of aftermarket support to keep it running, it's pretty small, but there is a passionate group of UK suppliers that still stock some parts available for these vehicles. But what makes the 280i truly special in this group is how exotic it feels for the money. The long hood, the pop-up headlights, the cockpit-style dash, it really has the drama of a junior sports car, but with a drivetrain that wouldn't necessarily scare you away. The electronics, though, they might. And it's also rare. Only about 1,100 convertibles and 400 coupes were made for North America. And that scarcity is precisely what could drive appreciation in the coming years, if not hold values steady. Number 6. The G-Body Monte Carlo SS, Cutlass 442, and Pontiac Grand Prix. If the British Roadsters were about finesse, then the G-Body coupes were about attitude. These cars weren't built to be light or delicate like the TVR. Let's start with the Monte SS. Built between 83 and 88, Chevrolet gave that regular Monte Carlo a sleek new aerodynamic nose, subtle spoilers, and most importantly, a high-output 5-liter, 305 cubic inch small block. It made 180 horsepower and 225 foot-pounds of torque, paired with a 4-speed automatic 200 R4 box and a 342 or 373 rear gear set. This was not blistering by modern standards, but at the time, it was fairly average for what a V8 would do. The Cutlass 442 and the Pontiac Grand Prix 2+2s played in the same arena, and outside of visual changes, these cars were largely the same underneath as the Monte Carlo SS, so it comes down to personal preference in your choice of them. Curb weights for these cars sat around 3,400 to 3,600 pounds, but with some massaging of the motors, these would move far better than the initial performance numbers suggested. The chassis was old school, but the G-bodies were known for being predictable, tail-happy, and easy to modify. And that's the key. Aftermarket support for these is quickly becoming massive. Whether you're doing an LS swap, building a street strip car, or restoring one to stock, parts availability is strong. Plus, GM's shared platform means that upgrades are cross-compatible between models. Even in stock trim, the small block is dependable, the transmission is solid, everything on these vehicles mechanically is pretty sound. Now you'll want to watch out for rust, especially in the quarter panels, but mechanically, these are approachable classics. What sets the G-bodies apart on this list is that they're kind of in that bridge era between modern performance and old school performance. They still have the old school 60s muscle car feel and a bit of that charm to them, but there's just a little bit more refinement on them being 80s cars. They're usable, they're fun, and they still feel classic to this day. Number 5. The Triumph TR6. The TR6 is the most aggressive and most performance-focused of the classic British roadsters in this 15 grand price range. With a torquey straight 6 up front, rear-wheel drive, and independent rear suspension, these cars are built to rip. Under the aggressive lines, the Triumph's 2.5-liter inline 6 is good for about 104 horsepower and 140 foot-pounds of torque in US trim. Now, European models ended up making more thanks to fuel injection, but the US carbureted version still does have a strong torque curve and that classic straight 6 growl. It's paired to a 4-speed manual with an optional overdrive on many examples. And with the curb weight being just under 2,500 pounds, the TR6 is light enough to keep things engaging. It's tossable and it's fun. Its fully independent suspension has front wishbones and rear semi-trailing arms, which gave it surprisingly composed handling for a 70s British roadster. Braking was handled by front discs and rear drums, which were fairly normal for the era. In terms of ownership, the TR6 is well supported, parts are plentiful, and there's a strong enthusiast base both in the UK and the US. You could build and restore one back to factory specs, which a lot of people do, but there is a community of performance mods out there, cam upgrades, new suspension parts, and fuel injection conversions to really turn your TR6 into a resto mod. With regular maintenance, the TR6 does hold up. The drivetrain is solid. Again, in terms of being a British car, electrical gremlins are common and the frames are known to rust. But outside of these known issues that have well-documented fixes, these are solid cars. And if you're looking to scratch the British roadster itch, in terms of classics, these might be as good as it gets in terms of performance. Number 4. The 1962 to 1980 MGB. Yes, this is another British roadster on this list. Now, the MGB isn't just a classic British roadster, though. It's what people picture when they think of a classic roadster. Launched in 1962, its long hood, short deck, and low slung stance created a silhouette that still holds up today against even the most iconic sports cars of the era, especially in its early chrome bumper trim. If you took an MGB and put it next to an E-Type Jag and debadged both of them and said they were both from a super premium manufacturer, it'd be very difficult for you to tell that that's not true. And under the hood, you're looking at a 1.8-liter inline 4-cylinder, which pushed out between 70 to 90 horsepower depending on the model year. These weren't big numbers, but when paired with a curb weight that was just over 2,000 pounds in full trim, the MGB is delightfully tossable. A 4-speed manual gearbox was standard, with overdrive also being optional on other models, which made highway cruising more livable than you'd expect for a car that was this small and this powerless for an era. Suspension on these cars is ruggedly simple too. Up front was an independent double wishbone front suspension, and it was a live rear axle out the back. You had front disc brakes and rear drums as well. And while it's not going to win any drag races stock, that's not what the MGB is for. It's for winding roads, top-down motoring, and listening to that engine sing through its SU carburetors. And in terms of ownership, well, few British classics are easier to keep on the road than an MGB. Parts for these are everywhere. Support is massive, and whether you're in the US or the UK or somewhere in between, there are entire ecosystems of specialists that keep these cars alive. From Moss Motors to British Motor Heritage. And the cars themselves, they're robust. As long as you stay ahead of rust and do your regular maintenance, the MGB should reward you with years of reliable and fun vintage motoring. And few cars in this price point deliver as much character as the MGB, which is why it has to be on the list. Number 3. the 4i Fox bodies. This wouldn't be a proper list in this price range without mentioning the Fox Body Mustang, which is quickly becoming more and more appreciated as a classic every single year. Prices are on the rise, and aftermarket parts are becoming even more robust for these, with high-dollar chassis offerings from Roadster Shop and more now on the market, pointing to a projected timeline where we're going to see really expensive Fox bodies soon. And while the 4i Fox bodies were underpowered, and compared to the later models, they're less desirable, these still represent a really good buy right now. Stock, they made about 210 horsepower with their 5-liter V8 back in 1985 and 1986, with the T5 manual 5-speed paired up behind it. But those raw numbers aren't what makes this car compelling. The real story is modability. The Fox body is one of the most versatile platforms out there. Whether you're doing a budget build or a full high-dollar resto mod, suspension, drivetrain, chassis, engine parts, everything is upgradable, and there is a vast aftermarket behind it in different price ranges. If you want to build a budget brawler, you can do so. If you want to go crazy and build like a Ring Brothers style resto mod, you could do that too. The options are seemingly endless, and there are so many engine swaps available for these now, you have your pick of the litter. The Fox bodies are also stupid simple. There's a ton of knowledge out there on the forums and online about these cars, restoration parts are easy to source, and common issues are all documented and fairly fixable at this point, with even sheet metal patch panels available for rust areas. And because of their rising desirability, clean, unmodified cars are getting more expensive. If I had to pick a vehicle on this list that I personally saw the most upward potential in for an increase in value, I'd probably say it's the Fox body, just because of all of the crazy resto mods that I'm seeing pop up now in the Fox body scene. People wouldn't be spending 6 figures plus on building crazy Fox bodies if the market wasn't eventually going to get there. But let me know if you agree in the comments down below. Number 2. The 3rd Gen Trans Am GTAs. The 3rd Gen Trans Am GTA doesn't really get the credit it deserves, but that's starting to change. Born during a time when muscle cars were trying to find their identity again, the GTA carved out a space of its own, one that had a powerful V8 for the time period and surprisingly good handling. Near the top of the Firebird lineup sat the GTA, packing a 5.7-liter L98 V8 borrowed from the Corvettes, with power ranging from 225 horsepower to 245 horsepower depending on the year, with 300 foot-pounds of torque available at the tap of the throttle. They only came with the 4-speed 700R4 automatics though, which while being a bit of a Debbie Downer, these can be manual swapped these days. Where the GTA shines though in terms of vehicles on this list is its balance in the American car segment. It had strong V8 performance for the period, it was comfortable at cruising, and the styling I think has aged wonderfully. These cars still look really good today. The L98 is dependable, parts are available, and thanks to a lot of their more mature buyers at the time, there still are clean survivors out there. With values on the rise, the GTA offers a lot of potential without breaking the bank. Looks-wise, I think these Trans Ams trounce the Fox Body Mustang all day long, and if there was a vehicle on this list that I would personally choose to have, there's a really good chance it would be one of these. The aftermarket for the 3rd gens isn't as robust as the Fox Body aftermarket, but it is still there, and you can still find plenty of parts in it, whether you're looking to build a track-focused car, redo the whole suspension, LS swap it, add a 5 or a 6-speed Tremec to it. You can all do that with these cars with off-the-shelf parts. So if choosing between this and the Fox body, your end determination is probably going to end up coming down to which one you prefer looks-wise. And last but not least, the number 1 car on this list are going to be the late C3 Corvettes and early C4 Corvettes. No list of affordable classics would be complete without America's sports car, and right now, both late-year C3s and early C4 Corvettes represent some of the best performance per dollar buys on the market. Let's start with the C3, specifically the 78 to 82 models. These cars carried over the iconic long hood Coke bottle shape of the C3, but they added sharper lines and more angularness to the rear and fronts of the vehicles now. They had integrated spoilers, and on the 82 Collector's Edition, even a full glass hatch. Under the hood though, performance had taken a hit in the 70s, but by the early 80s, the L82, which was the range-topping motor, made 220 foot-pounds of torque and 210 horsepower, paired with a 4-speed manual or a 3-speed auto. These weren't particularly fast, but it was running a old-school small-block Chevy, which means that parts aplenty are available for them to hop these motors up, not to mention all the different crate motor small blocks available. You could LS swap the C3, there's suspension parts available for the C3s, there's still a lot of options here while giving you that old school Corvette feel. But if you want something different, the C4, which launched in 1984, offered a clean sheet redesign with an entirely new platform. It had its rad 80s digital dash, and it focused a lot more on a more competent suspension for better handling. Early C4s used the Crossfire 5.7-liter V8, which made 205 horsepower and 290 foot-pounds of torque. And then by 85, the L98 tuneport injection V8 took over, bumping power out to about 230 horse. The C4 was lighter than the C3 was, at around 3,200 pounds. It was far more agile, and its suspension was far more advanced. And the C4 had four-wheel discs all around. Now, both generations of Corvettes handled surprisingly well for their era, but the C4, that was truly transformative. It felt modern, planted, and sharp in a way few American cars did in the 80s. And if you were to actually compare and contrast chassis dynamics between the C4 and the C3 is by all intents and purposes a better chassis full stop. And in this $15,000 price range, you could get a really clean late model C3 or an exceptionally clean early C4 Corvette. There is really solid parts support available for these cars, with reproduction and performance upgrades available from tons of suppliers for both the C3 and the C4. So whether you're doing a full-on resto mod or a numbers matching style restoration, there's plenty of options available for you. If you want the more old school feel and old school looks, then the classic C3 Corvettes are the ones for you. But if you want that vet heritage with that glorious 80s digital dash and wedge shape, plus a better chassis, then the C4 is right there waiting for you. However, I personally think the C3 cars are probably a better buy in this $15,000 range. You could also get later C4 Corvettes, which are much better performance-wise than the early cars, for in this $15,000 range too. But those technically don't fall before 1987, so I can't count them, but I can give them an honorable mention that the later C4 cars are even leaps and bounds better than the early C4 cars, which is already a much better car than the C3. But the Corvette's undeniable performance per dollar is why I give them the #1 slot on the list. But that concludes the video of the 7 affordable classics that you can buy right now for under $15,000. Let me know in the comments down below which of these vehicles you would choose from the list and why. And let me know if you think I missed any. As always, thanks for watching another Rare Cars video. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out. But I will see you all in the next one, enthusiasts.